The president says he had a great meeting at the White House today with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. And the Prime Minister, well, he said afterwards, quote, "I feel better about relations in many respects." So publicly, at least, both sides seemed pleased with the meeting. Whether it was a typical meeting, though, or would be for any president not named Donald Trump, that's another question. Because here's what else Mr. Trump said just a few hours afterwards.
As far as calling him Governor Carney, no, I haven't done that yet, and maybe I won't.
That's the President of the United States suggesting that maybe he won't, but maybe he will call the newly elected leader of our closest neighbor governor, as though Canada were the 51st state. Not typical, except these days it kind of is. Nor is it typical for a visiting Canadian Prime Minister to have to say twice to the president's face that his country is not for sale, after his host, when asked about it, starts almost daydreaming out loud.
Mr. President, and Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get a good response to this too. Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state. Were you joking?
No. Well, I still believe that, but you know, it takes two to tango, right? But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
A few minutes later, this time after a question on tariffs, Prime Minister Carney came back to the 51st state issue.
Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that could get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
What do you first state? If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. If respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state.
The president also talked tariffs and showed impatience at being asked about whether he's reached any trade agreements with any country so far.
Just to finish, we also have a situation, because everyone says, when are you going to sign deals? We don't have to sign deals. We could sign 25 deals right now, Howard, if we wanted. We don't have to sign deals. They have to sign deals with us.
Well, keep it honest, the president is now just 3 days shy of a month into his 3-month tariff pause, time which he said would be used to strike trade agreements with the rest of the world, especially China, which he exempted from the pause and raised tariffs on to 145%. So far, however, the administration has announced 0 agreements with 0 countries, and by the sound of the president's answer, there might not be any, which, by the way, is not surprising. In normal times, in past administrations, trade deals have taken many, many months, even years to hammer out. The idea that even a framework for trade agreements would happen this fast was unlikely, but this president did put a timer on it. And when asked more specifically about China, the administration's responses have been all over the place.
Mr. President, you said that you have spoken to President Xi. When did that happen? China says it hasn't happened.
I spoke to him numerous times.
So can you clarify, is the administration talking to Beijing specifically about tariffs or not?
Well, we're not going to talk about who's talking to whom.
Setting the stage for a deal with China, what does that mean? Has the president spoken directly with Xi yet?
I don't have anything to read out on a direct talk between the president and President Xi.
Have you had any conversations with your Chinese counterpart? Has there been anything between you and the Chinese?
I think we've had soft, the way I would say it is soft entrees, through intermediaries and those kind of comments.
Well, as for the president, he was asked about China during a lengthy interview about 2 weeks ago with Time magazine. The question was, will you call President Xi if he doesn't call you? President Trump said no. No, you won't. Nope. Question, has he called you yet? The president, yep. When did he call you? The president, he's called, and I don't think that's a sign of weakness on his behalf. Now, the Chinese have consistently denied that any such call happened, and today, testifying before Congress under oath, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the two countries have not even started talking trade.
There are 18 very important trading relationships. We are currently negotiating with 17 of those trading partners. China, we have not engaged in negotiations with as of yet.
Well, joining me now, CNN political analyst, New York Times senior White House correspondent Maggie Haberman. What stood out to you about the meeting with Carney?
Many things. The main one is that all of these foreign leaders go into the Oval Office with President Trump in something of a no-win situation because the president sets the terms of what he wants it to be. He did a truth post before this meeting started. He has obviously been talking about the 51st state. He has been talking about trade. And so Carney, who has been pretty tough and who was elected in part as backlash to Donald Trump in Canada, had a choice to make on how he was going to handle it. He came in clearly with a prepared line, which was Canada's not for sale. But then he had to sort of navigate not having a Zelensky type moment with Trump where they're in a standoff. He seemed to have, but again, it was all on President Trump.
Well, it was so interesting. I mean, the only thing to compare it to is kind of the Zelensky. They're on one end of the spectrum.
They're very far.
Right, and then there's the British Prime Minister presenting a golden letter from the Buckingham Palace with like double plus good invitations.
Right, and not being in total disagreement with him, but occasionally, or not being in total agreement with him, occasionally voicing some disagreement when they were at their separate podiums. This is somewhere on that spectrum. It is far closer to Keir Starmer, the British PM, than Zelensky.
The Prime Minister also seemed to have, I don't know if the thing about the real estate deal was a planned out, but it seemed like it sure sounded like it.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see the president kind of responding.
Well, it's interesting, Anderson, because all of these foreign leaders do workshop. I mean, it's not uncommon that you would workshop how you're going to handle meeting with a U.S. president, but the extent to which they all have to do some form of prep because they know they're going to end up in a bind with President Trump. He clearly had practiced saying something that would both disarm Trump and also make his point. And he did that. Trump did respond. He laughed, but then he went right back to his point.
I want to play something else that the president said in a bilateral meeting at this point.
We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves.
Is it clear to you what kind of outcome he's looking for?
No, and I'm not sure that it's clear to him what kind of actual specific outcome he's looking for other than one where the U.S. can say we're on top and somebody else is not. Whatever the outcome is with Canada, with most of these other trading partners, it will look like some kind of a framework of a deal, and Trump will say, we won. This is what I wanted. It won't be an actual trade deal to the point you made earlier. Those take months and sometimes years to hammer out. He will take some kind of off-ramps, but I don't think that he knows exactly what he wants to see other than a headline that says success.
I also wonder how much the president's knowledge that the prime minister was elected in reaction to a lot of what the president said. I mean, his popularity grew in reaction to President Trump.
True. Most people would have the reaction of, oh, that means that perhaps I should temper what I'm saying. Trump, as you know, historically doubles down. We have seen that here. And also he sees it as it's still everyone talking about him one way or the other. So he sort of likes being at the center of it.
Do you think his relationship is, I guess it's not for, I mean, nobody really knows what his relationship with is going to be vis-a-vis or in relation to how he was with Trudeau.
No, I mean, look, he dangled that idea that he might call Carney governor, right? So that's suggesting that I'm still going to possibly minimize you if I want to. But so far, he does seem, to your question about the fact that Carney got elected in response to Trump and as a backlash to Trump, he is clearly aware that there is at least some limit on how far he can go right.
He also announced or kind of mentioned that he would stop strikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen. And an Israeli official has told CNN that the U.S. did not inform Israel in advance about the de facto truce between them. And Israel has just struck, the Houthis just struck Israel.
Yes, and Trump made no mention of Israel and that attack on Israel that just took place. Look, I think this is an outgrowth, as I understand it, of some of what Steve Witkoff, who was just sworn in as the envoy, the special envoy to the Mideast, has been working on in Oman. It was Oman officials who announced this. We'll see what it looks like. I mean, there was some report that the U.S. military strikes were still ongoing after Trump said that. So, you know, this will either open up a change or it won't, but we'll see.